Hello, it's Dawn Michelle from Boho Tarot, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Green Witch Oracle by Cheralyn Darcey, which is another of these beautiful Rockpool Oracle decks. So the Green Witch Oracle invites us to step into the enchanted garden and explore the hidden powers of the Green Witch. Within these 44 cards, you'll be able to draw upon the magical and medicinal aspects of the garden. Ethnobotanical and plant folklore historical facts are included in the guidebook along with gardening advice and spells. So in the Green Witch Oracle, we're going to be discovering real secrets of botanical magic, which I am really excited about because that is something that I am personally slowly kind of making my way into in my personal practice. So I am really excited to check out this deck today. It is a beautiful Rockpool deck. It comes in their traditional two-piece box, which is just beautifully produced. We have the name, we have a little bit of information with a few cards on the back. Gorgeous little thumb tags. As always, I love a Rockpool packaging. I think their boxes are very well made. So inside we have, of course, the little guidebook, which we will take a look at in a moment. And the beautiful cards. I love that the cards have the elemental symbols on the back. I just think that's fantastic. So we have a deck that's traditional oracle size, that beautiful Rockpool cardstock, which is a little glossy, but I think it actually works really well. It makes it shuffle beautifully. So in this deck, we actually have 4 suits. We have the suit of earth with our vegetables, our suit of fire with our herbs, our suit of water with our fruits, and our suit of air with our flowers. So each card does have a botanical name, a keyword, the elemental symbol. We do find the astrological symbols on the card, as well as a symbol to tie it into its magical uses, and of course, the plant imagery itself. So let's go ahead and take a look at all the cards in the deck. So in our first suit of cards for the element of earth, we have our vegetables. Our first vegetable is, of course, the carrot with the keyword of clarity. I do love that these cards also have a lot of symbolism on them. See, here we have the little eye. There are magical correspondences that go along with each card as well, such as its uses, deities, celestial or planetary associations, as well as astrological associations. So we begin with our suit of earth with our vegetables, and here we have the carrot for clarity, which is used for fertility, passion, vision, independence, and grounding. Next, we have the P for communication, which is magically used for openings, money, love, messages, and of course, communication itself. Here we have the Coast lettuce with desire, with our magical correspondences being lust, renewal, rediscovery, love, and fertility. Here we have the cucumber for emotion, and our magical correspondences are chastity, commitment, prosperity, improvement, and expansion. Next, we have the potato with grounding, which relates to image magic, healing, health protection, compassion, and stability. Next, we have broccoli with our leadership for use in profit, strength, finances, good luck, and protection. Here we have our beetroot with passion, which is used for love, blood magic, passion, beauty, and joy. Here we have our Kent pumpkin for productivity, used in risk, healing, abundance, guidance, fertility, and love. Next, we have our onion with protection, used for endurance, lust, spiritual health, banishing negativity, and healing. Next, we have sweet corn with ritual, used for return, divination, luck, offerings, and fertility. Here we have our cauliflower for transition, used for calm, emotions, lunar rituals, glamour magic, and change. Now we move into our fire element with our herbs. We have sorrel with affection, used for agreement, dexterity, love, family, and inner healing. Here we have thyme with courage, used for boosting activity, happiness, affection, courage, and strength. Here we have our chives with divination, used for protection from evil, calming fear, abundance, strength, and emotional balance. Here we have our majorum with happiness, used for love, protection of objects, purification, spell and curse breaking, and health. Next, we have rosemary for memory, used for the mind, cleansing, concentration, psychic development, and lust. Here we have tarragon for regeneration, used for sensuality, confidence, courage, protection, and sexuality. Next, we have chili with stimulation for curse breaking, fidelity, passion, negative energy protection, and love. Here we have our fennel with strength, used for grounding, completion, goals, friendship, and shared successes. Next, we have peppermint for success, used for prosperity, good luck, justice, love, protection from illness. Here we have basil with trust, used for good luck, love, prosperity, reconciliation, and success. Next, we have our bay with wisdom, used for clairvoyance, energy, wishes, defense, and inspiration. Moving into our suit of water with our fruits, we first have grape with abundance, used for fertility, wealth, mental strength, garden magic, and abundance. Here we have strawberry for agreement, used for love, offerings, luck, attention, and success. Here we have our lemon for cleansing, used in purification, friendship, longevity, love, and fidelity. Next, we have apple with continuance, used for immortality, prosperity, love, the spirit realm, and blockages. Here we have our banana with duality, used for potency, prosperity, fertility, marriage, and ambition. Next, we have our orange for energy, used for wealth, divination, love, luck, and willpower. Next, we have our watermelon for fertility, used for sex magic, strength, aphrodisiacs, blood substitute, and peace. Here we have our tomato for love, used for protection, prosperity, protection from evil as an aphrodisiac, and for love. Next, we have our lime with luck, used for awareness, harmony, inspiration, anxiety, and protection. Next, we have our fig for vitality, used for divination, fertility, love, safe travel, and longevity. Here we have our black mulberry for wholeness, used in protection, strength, vision, clarity, and wisdom. And finally, we move into our suit of air with our flowers. We have first our pansy with attraction, used for memories, meditation, kindness, resonance, and weather magic. Here we have stock with focus, used for relaxation, contemplation, contentment, slowing down, and affection. Next, we have our pink rose for gratitude, used for joy, admiration, sympathy, sweetness, and gentleness. Here we have our geranium with healing, used for comfort, virility, peace of mind, love, and happiness. Next, we have our daffodil for hope, used for new beginnings, self-esteem, luck, fertility, and friendship. Here we have our chrysanthemum with longevity, used for truth, love, cheerfulness, healing, and boundaries. Here we have our marigold with positivity, used for vigor, renewal, life force, creativity, and grief. Here we have our snapdragon for purification, used for finances, reversal, inner strength, perception, and exorcism. Here we have our dahlia with refinement, used for gratitude, dignity, creativity, faith, and resilience. Next, we have our violet with tranquility, used for purification, happiness, truth, death, and advancement. And finally, we have nasturtium for victory, used for success, support, vitality, independence, and optimism. Now that we've had a chance to take a look at all the cards in the deck, let's go ahead and take a peek at the guidebook. So the guidebook, in keeping with Rockpool standards, is a beautiful deck-sized guidebook, which does fit in the box with the deck, which I love. It is also full color, and I do find that Rockpool guidebooks are just really fantastic. We have a table of contents, again, makes it really easy to use. This particular deck is divided up into its 4 suits, and each one is in alphabetical order. And of course, card numbers and page numbers all included, handy to find what you're looking for. So here we have our little introduction, which says, "Welcome to the magical botanical world beyond the garden gates. This deck is a tool to help those wanting to create a magical practice within a garden setting." The author says, "I filled this deck with plant magic and guidance from my gardens, journals, and experiences to enhance and inspire gardeners and garden dreamers alike. Explore the healing and supportive energies of fruits, vegetables, flowers, and herbs in the cards and informative guidebook." So really beautiful little guidebook here. We have a little bit about how to use the cards and how to work with the guidebook. We do also have some spreads here, which I love when decks include spreads that relate specifically to the deck themselves. I think that's always wonderful. So we have the garden shed, we have a garden of magic, and a garden year spread. So 3 great spreads. I'm really looking forward to trying those all out. So now we move into our card information. We have the little suits. I love the little ink splots on not only the guidebook, but on the cards. I just think that looks really cool. So for each of the cards, we do have a little thumbnail of the image, which is really nice, which again means you can take this book and read it and not have to necessarily have your cards with you. We have the keyword that appears on the card, the plant name. We also have the scientific name, for lack of a better term. We also have a little quote, which I do really love because I think that that's really something that's wonderful to incorporate not only into, say, your journaling, but your magical practices, because I do feel like this would be a deck really well attuned to working in magical ways. We have the oracle message, the cultivation, the magical correspondences, of course, the uses, deities, celestial and astrological signs, and then each one also has a spell. So for the carrot, we have a clarity spell because its keyword is clarity. So since we're just taking a look at carrot here, let's go ahead and read a little bit from the guidebook just so you can get an idea of how it's written up. So the oracle message for carrot is new ideas, breakthroughs, and increases in finances and resources are all indicated, and you should trust your own judgment. There's a strong chance of triumph over a difficult challenge and opportunity for sudden growth in what you are currently undertaking. Relationships will be focused on the physical, with lust, sex, and passion high on the agenda. Be careful of overthinking, self-sabotage, and roadblocks placed by others. I do like that it has kind of a warning message as well. I think that's really important in case these cards come up in a more shadow or challenging position. So here we have a little bit about cultivation, which I believe relates to the gardening tips for each of these plants. So it says preferably grown from seed in final position, as transplanting seedlings are not recommended. Carrots like a cool environment but do not tolerate frost and will not grow well in tropical areas. Plant in late summer in cooler areas and early summer in more temperate places. Ensure the soil is rich, friable, deep, and free draining. Carrots may be harvested at any size you require. Many of the smaller and more rounded varieties can be grown in containers. So a little bit about maybe caring for the plant if you were using this as a tool for expanding your magical garden. Then of course we have the correspondences with the uses, deity, celestial, and astrological association. And here is our clarity spell. It says this oil will help clear your mind to get to the truth of matters. It will also open your vision during divination and dream work and when experiencing creative blocks. Mix together equal amounts of carrot seed oil and full moon water. Place a dab on your third eye before meditating or working on an issue for which you are seeking deeper understanding. I do like that each of these has a spell. These cards, I think, are definitely intended to be used in a magical sense as well. Here we have the communication spell for the pea, the desire spell for the lettuce, emotion spell for the cucumber. So you can see that all of the spells definitely relate back to the plant and the keyword on the card. So moving through the rest of the book, we have again the same for each of the cards. We have basically 2 pages for every card, which is lovely. I think there's definitely enough in here to allow you to use this deck both in divination and in magical workings. So in the back here, we have a little glossary, which is always handy, a bibliography for additional reading, and of course about our beautiful author. So wonderful little guidebook. I think there's quite a bit of information in this little book, and definitely some things that I'm looking forward to working with, in particular the magical correspondences and the spell work. I think that's going to be really handy, particularly for me as I'm trying to incorporate more of the botanical energy into my personal practice. So I'm really excited to have this as a resource as well as a deck for using in my card readings. So now let's go ahead and give these cards a shuffle. They are your standard Rockpool Oracle size, which is a quite nice size. They are a little bit on the glossy side, but not that heavy gloss that sticks. And you can see they shuffle beautifully. They riffle shuffle well. They also, sorry, they are going to catch my light, but they do also overhand shuffle quite well. And I can do them both ways. So it says this deck can be used as a focal tool as you study plant magic, as a gardening companion, or as a divination tool. So I love that idea of being able to use it in all those different ways. I am really thinking that this might be a wonderful deck to incorporate into magical practice as well. So while I'm thinking about using this deck primarily in my magical practice, I do want to see how it works in a divination sense. So I'm going to grab a couple of tarot decks and we're going to take a look at how it pairs with each of them. So of course, the first deck that came to mind for me when pairing the Green Witch Oracle was the Green Witch Tarot, which also happens to be one of the key decks that I use in my personal magical practice. So I definitely wanted to see how these two decks go together, and I think they're going to be a beautiful match for each other. So you can see here that the color palettes are really cohesive. I do love that there is kind of this, not so much white space, of course, because it's parchment paper, but the illusion of space between the tarot deck and the main focal image in the center, which I think is going to be really wonderful. So here we have healing between the Lord of Shadows and the Star. How beautiful is that? I feel like this little potion bottle here could be the healing water from the Star card. I think that's just beautiful. And again, I do feel like these two decks, because they have a really similar theme, even though their art styles are a little bit different, I do feel that they are quite compatible together. So let's just take a quick flip through a couple more of the cards just so that we can kind of see how they look together. So here we have Harvest and the Witch, and in the center is Affection. So interesting, here we have our card of success with the peppermint in between the Page of Wands and the King of Chalices. Definitely that idea of coming into your own, right? I think that's really beautiful. And I do love the way the colors all work together. I think it's quite cohesive on a color level as well, and its color palette. So here we have Clarity with the carrot in between the Standing Stone and the Two of Wands. Next we have our Line with Luck, and look at the play of color between these decks. I just think that's beautiful as well. I love when decks cohesively work together. These two decks feel like a really good pairing because, again, the theme is very similar. We have the Green Witch Tarot and the Green Witch Oracle. I think you can pull out some really wonderful deep messages out of these and use them in magical practice as well, which is definitely something that I'm going to be doing with them. So another pairing that I thought would be really interesting, again, tapping into that witchy energy, is the Witch's Wisdom Tarot paired with the Green Witch Oracle. Again, both have a very witchy, magical theme to them, and I think that they will probably pair really wonderfully together. The Witch's Wisdom has these beautifully illustrated cards, and again, I think that kind of cleaner space that we have around the focal element in the Green Witch Oracle really creates a lot of space in the reading, which opens up the flow of movement between the cards. So I think that's really wonderful. So here we have our cauliflower with transition between the Ace of Water, the potential, right? And the Witch of Water. How interesting is that? That kind of transitioning from that beginning stage into that full embodiment. I think that's beautiful. These cards are also roughly the same size, which always makes it really nice in readings when everything kind of fits really well together. So here we have Rosemary with Memory, and between our 9 of Fire and our 7 of Air. Again, I think the illustrations work really well together, even though they are definitely different art styles. I do think that they are quite cohesive. So here we have quite a bit of fiery energy going on. We have the orange with the actual keyword of energy, and that is sitting in between our shaman and our 5 of fire. So here we have regeneration between our messenger of earth and our 4 of earth. So here we have abundance between our 9 of air and our rebirth. So here we have our cucumber with emotion between our 5 of water and our 4 of air. So beautiful, beautiful cards. I really do like the way that these two decks work together. I think that the Green Witch Oracle really kind of gives you a great focal point. Funny when the word I'm about to use is on the card. That happens so often you would think I'd plan it, but I really don't. I really do think that the Green Witch Oracle provides a great focal point for the kind of larger and more embodied readings that we get out of the Witch's Wisdom. But again, I think these are two decks that you could also use for magical workings as well. So another pairing that I was really excited to try out is the Green Witch Oracle with the Ophidia Rosa Tarot. The Ophidia Rosa is a very botanical heavy deck, and I thought that the background, the line work, all of that would look beautiful together, and I think they do. We have the gorgeous frames in the Ophidia Rosa with the ink splots on the Green Witch Oracle. They both have that kind of parchment paper background, and the colors I think are really compatible. I think this is a pairing that, again, is going to be really kind of magical and also help you tap into some really deep messages. So one of the things I like to do is to pair a oracle deck with really clean, concise messages and keywords with a tarot deck that can be a little bit more difficult to use. In these cases, sometimes the oracle cards can kind of help you unlock those messages when they're not quite coming to the forefront of your mind. I know the Ophidia Rosa is a deck that lots of people, including myself, have had trouble with. It really took me some time to get to know this deck on a deep level before I really had that strong connection with it. But I think if I had had an oracle, something like the Green Witch Oracle here, that I could have paired with it to sort of help me unlock those messages, I think that would have been really cool. Because if you're maybe just looking at these two cards on their own, maybe there's not that tie-in. You're not really sure what the message is trying to get at. Really, you're not really sure where that focal point is. And by pulling in an oracle like we see here with the Green Witch Oracle, we kind of create that focal point. It gives us something to key into. So we're keying into the idea of hope. We're pulling in those messages from the guidebook and looking to see how those messages relate to the cards that are around it. I think that's a really fantastic practice to use, especially when you have a deck that maybe you have a little bit more of a hard time reading with. A good solid oracle deck can be really key to unlocking some of those more challenging tarot decks that we have in our collection. And I think these two work beautifully together. We have the gorgeous botanical energy. We have the ink and the line work that is beautiful. We have those pops of color. Again, the same similar background. I do think that they look really beautiful together, but I think that the Green Witch Oracle is actually going to be a really wonderful pairing for the Ophidia Rosa in allowing us to sort of unlock those messages from this particular deck. So real quick, let's just take a look at one more pairing. I have the Green Witch Oracle here in the center with the Wild Unknown Tarot. So rather than pulling in that witchy botanical energy now, I'm kind of pulling in a little bit of a more contemporary, a little bit more in the raw natural world. And I think that these two will probably pair really well together. Again, we have that sort of illustrated line work going on that I think you can pull wonderful messages out of as well. So we have that kind of magical energy represented through the Green Witch Oracle. And then how can we manifest that? How can we pull that magical energy into the mundane, into the everyday world? And I think this is a great pairing for looking at how to infuse your sort of everyday life with those magical energies. And I thought this might be a really interesting deck to pair with that in that sense. I think using any sort of more modern style deck might be a really interesting practice for this as well, kind of adding that magical element to the mundane. So interesting pairing, I think, to have kind of two very different decks paired together. This is one of those instances where the decks really aren't compatible in theme. So we're looking at them to complement each other, where the Wild Unknown, I see it as being kind of more of a mundane style deck. It's kind of more in the earthy realm, the real world, where we have the Green Witch Oracle, which is really tapping into that magical space. So kind of bringing those two areas together. And I think that that's really wonderful to look at, kind of how can I infuse some magic into my everyday life? And I think decks like this work really well together for that. So I'm really excited to bring this deck into my collection. I think it's going to work well on a lot of different levels. I could definitely see myself using it alongside my tarot readings to really add a little bit of Green Witch and magic to those. As you saw, I paired it with some of my favorite tarot decks. So I will definitely be looking at kind of exploring those more in depth as well. But I do think that this would also be a wonderful deck to use in magical practices. Say if I was looking to maybe create some spell work around transition, I could pull this cauliflower card and use it actually in my magical practice as a focal point. I think it's also a deck that you could probably use for some manifestation as well, kind of going through here and pre-selecting, the energy. I did it again. The word that I was going to say is on the card. Pre-selecting the energy that you want to tap into, the thing that you want to cultivate, and then using this as a focal point. You could even do, some readings around it to really look at how can you tap into that? How can you best manifest that? Also to use it as, meditation, just pulling a card, really focusing in on that idea, that plant energy, also the keyword, the astrological associations, all the different correspondences that go into the deck, I think too could be definitely utilized in some meditations, manifestation, and of course, magical workings and study, right? I mean, you could definitely use this deck as a study deck, as a jumping off point for kind of working more with Green Witch energy. So again, another beautiful Cheralyn Darcey deck. It says rediscover real secrets of botanical magic. I think that is definitely something that you can do with this deck. And I am definitely looking forward to using it not only in my readings, but also in my magical practices. I would also like to thank Rockpool for sending me this wonderful deck to share with you today. And I would love to know what your thoughts are on it. So please feel free to share with me in the comments below. Thank you for joining me today. You'll find links for everything featured here in the description box below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you again soon for more creative tarot for an inspired life.